Hey guys, back again on 32nd scale aircraft again. This week we're looking at another really big kit with Revell's 132nd scale Heinkel 111P-1. Let's open it on up and take a look. Now, right away I can tell you this thing is quite large. As we see here from some of the interior components making up the main cabin area, as well as some of the control surfaces and our landing gear bays. Moving on, we now have more of the cockpit details. Again, you can start to see just how big this thing is. Especially if we use the F-18 we looked at previously. Just in the sheer volume is going to be in a much larger category. See more of the internal detail. Continue on. We've got double sprues for a lot of the engine details. Unfortunately, the exhaust stats are done as a two-piece assembly, so you're going to have to glue those and clean them up, which is a bit of a downside, especially in this large scale. Main wheels and our main landing gear, again, they said do it as a double piece assembly, so that will require a bit of careful cleanup. Prop blades and side covers for the engines. Next up, we've got another double sprue comprising parts build up the bomb bay, the bombs, and the various retention components for them, and a few other little odds and end parts. Again, just massive size and a lot of fine detailing. Without a doubt. Another sprue containing a few other odds and end parts, more landing gear details, and components. Still more components for the landing gears, as well as a lot of the dials and gauges and equipment for the cockpit. Overall detailing on those is adequate for the scale. Could be better, but could be a lot worse. Moving on, we have the gunner cover, as well as the couple other odds and parts for it, as well as our main cockpit dash. Hopefully this will show up on camera. Detail is actually surprisingly decent for the age of the kit. I would say it's serviceable at the very least, and for most people it will probably be just fine. Continue on. We've got some additional odds and end parts for doing detailing throughout. I'm going to shift over to the clear parts. This kit has a large number of clear parts for various compartments, the gunner station, and a few other places, as well as building up the front glassed cockpit area, which you can see more as we continue on. These are actually surprisingly clear. I mean, these are damn near crystal, save for the areas that they've intentionally shaded off that serve as framing components. Again, very complicated and extensive masking going to be required to build up all of these different panels and frames that will need to be painted. So very time consuming, and I would highly suggest this is another one to splurge and get the masking set for. So back onto the opaque parts, more build up for the undergunner station in the rear. Now we're getting into the wing components. comprising flaps, control surfaces, and some of the outer wing portions. Double sprue there. Now, here's where you can tell just how hefty this guy's going to be. We have our center area comprising the bomb bay, landing gear, as well as the engine stations. Again, this is very thick, very big. It's actually very thick plastic, so it should hold up. I'd honestly say you might want to, just for added support, given the size of the wings, drill in a support rod to act as a wing spar and just help take some of that heft. Now, another part, if you still didn't realize how big this thing is what our fuselage halves. Again, this thing is massive. Built with the wings, it's probably going to be about that from center line to wingtip. It's about that big. I mean, this thing is massive. Inner side walls are nicely detailed. Unfortunately, there is a fair number of ejector pin marks. I'm hopeful just with how much of this area is enclosed, you can get away without having to clean them up. But I would warn you, you probably may have to. So prepare yourself for that. Much to say on this other side. And lastly, we move on to our wings. Again, just quite massive in terms of size. This is definitely a kit that will be a showstopper from sheer size alone. Now, give me a minute to get these back in, and we will move on to the decals and instructions. Okay, on to the decals now. You get this very nicely done full color sheet. Color registration is very high, very excellent. All the reds are nice, bright, similar with the yellows. Very nice whites, good blacks. Fantastic job there. Several marking options. They do include decals for a lot of the gauges, so that does give you options on that front. Now, moving on to the instructions. Much like the Super Hornet we looked at previously, this is a complicated build. Revell really went all out on this, so you're going to spend a lot of time building up the internal cockpit and cabin area, as well as the bomb bays. Again, just truly massive. Also, does not help that the instructions could be a little larger to add a little bit of clarity, just to make things a little easier to understand where things go, what parts, how they connect, etc. That was one very nice thing that they did with the Hornet's instruction manual. I do think helps it in some ways. On this though, yeah, it's going to be a bit of a slog, just mainly due to just a lot of things going on. This is a complicated build, and you're going to need to make some definite choices how you want to do it, what parts to use, etc. But obviously, you will be rewarded once you do finish it. Another downside to this, it's only black and white drawings for it, but as I stated, you do get two different options as far as markings, and yeah, this is definitely one to take, three, sorry. This is definitely a kit you're going to need to take a lot of time on. This is a marathon kit and not a quick and easy build. So, overall, I do feel this thing is massive. I mean, if nothing else, if you take nothing away from this, this is truly a massive kit. It's also surprisingly detailed for the age. Would I recommend this to somebody just starting? Absolutely not. No. This Do not tackle this unless you know what you're doing and are prepared for a long haul build. So that was a look at Revell's 1/32 scale Heinkel 111P-1. Probably the busiest kit we may look at ever on this channel. All things said. So, until next time.